Welcome back, everyone. If you're catching this on the video, welcome to the show. I am been graced to have the pleasure of having Gay Hendricks back on the show. He has another book out, another awesome, amazing book that we're going to talk about today. I'm already digging in and loving it, and I'll tell you that I had some resistance, but we're going to go over what that was about. If you're listening on the podcast, also know that we have a video. So come on over to jjflizanes.tv and check out the video if you want to see some of the things that we're talking about. I may show the book or refer to other things, that when you use your hands and you can't really see them, don't translate quite the same on audio. Welcome, Gay, to the show again.
Thank you very much, JJ. Happy to be with you again.
Well, The Big Leap was a life changer for me and a lot of people. And I'm continuing to, have people reach out and tell me how much it's changed their lives. They buy it, they read it in one day. And so, of course, and I know I'm a little behind the times. You published it a long time ago, and I read it once and it was like, I wasn't ready for it. And the second time it was like, blew me away. And now, now you have this next book. So it's almost like the momentum is perfect for me and my community because they want more of you and they want more of what you have because they loved so much what they got from The Big Leap. So we have the newest, latest, greatest book, Conscious Luck, 8 Secrets to Intentionally Change Your Fortune. Let's talk about why this book and when, because I know it's sat on the shelf. I know the whole story about how long it took, like why this book?
Okay. Well, for one thing, The Big Leap really opens up 2 big areas of territory for most people when they read it. First, they're interested in what I call the upper limit problem, which is a way to understand the things that limit us, that you keep bumping into the same patterns every time that limit your growth. And so in The Big Leap, I showed people how to kind of get underneath the upper limit problem and deal with the 4 or 5 basic fears that drive the upper limit problem. The second thing The Big Leap was about is what I then called the zone of genius. Now I call it the genius spiral. It's more open-ended. But what it was all about was finding that part of yourself inside that's your own personal area of genius. And once you do that, to open up and expand that more and more and more and more. In other words, instead of having to solve a problem or get rid of a problem, what you're doing is growing more genius every day. And that, I think, is a better way to think of your life rather than continually solving problems or helping to try to dismantle old limiting programs. In The Big Leap, I showed how to dismantle those old programs and how to move beyond the upper limit area into this new zone. I then called the zone of genius. I now call it the spiral because I saw hawks riding a spiral of wind currents one day, and it stuck in my mind. And so I want to show people how to ride now on the currents of conscious luck, because once you've opened up The Big Leap and done some work on your genius, the next natural thing is to find out how to organically attract the good things of life. And so conscious luck is all about how to create a space inside that organically attracts good fortune to yourself.
I'm really glad you said the word attracts because my issue at first with luck, like there are times where, especially in my relationship or in business, that we'll stop and someone will say, or I'll say, I'll catch myself wanting to say that, God, we're so lucky. And I'll stop and say, stop. No, I'm not. This isn't luck, because most people think luck is random. And you address that in the book, which I appreciate, because that was my resistance to like the idea of lucky, like that it is random, and it's not random. What you're saying is it's not random, and we can absolutely change it by attracting. And I love how you set up the 8 secrets, because we went over the second one today, and I think it actually helped a breakthrough when we were on our walk on the beach. So let's talk about the whole idea of luck and my response to it, which I think for some people, not everybody, maybe those that do law of attraction, maybe we have a resistance to the word luck because we don't believe it's random. We believe it's attraction. And yes. Right. So let's talk to that.
Yeah. Well, I think that's a common perception many people have about luck, that it's random, like a lightning strike. And one thing we talk about in the book is that luck is more like a wind that's blowing all the time, and our job is to open up our sails so we catch the wind and go with it effortlessly rather than having to, work so hard at life. And the more I open up to that quality of what I call conscious luck in myself, that part of me that's just free and flowing and creative, that's not limited by my old patterns, the more I open up to that, the more good luck seems to happen to me. And just little things, or, like, I'm not talking about just finding parking places and stuff like that. That's good too. But like yesterday, for example, I was planning, we're having a big Q&A session tonight on the internet that hundreds of people are signed up for. And we're doing a special thing where we're doing questions and answers about conscious luck for an hour. And I thought, you know what, it'd be really great to have somebody to handle the questions off, and feed them to us so that we could go to him or her and her face would pop up on the screen, and then she'd read the question, because there are a lot of people that like to type in their questions. They don't necessarily want to get on camera and ask it themselves. And so a friend of mine popped up yesterday, sent me an email and said, she's a big time business consultant and everything. And she said, hey, I loved Conscious Luck. I'd love to just help support it in any way. I said, well, hey, how about coming on and handling the Q&A? And she said, I'd love to. And so, it's just things like that when things just kind of drop in your lap, almost before you have the thought that you need something appears. Like the story I told, I think it was in The Big Leap, where I talked about right after I'd opened up to letting myself be kind of supported organically by life, not trying to push it so much, but just kind of let things come to me. I was walking toward my office, the building that housed my office in the inner part of it. And I had this huge box of books, and it was a Sunday. And as I was walking toward the door, I realized, oh no, the whole building is going to be locked. And I didn't bring my key to the outside building. And just then, as I was approaching the door, somebody came out from the inside and opened the door for me. And I said, thank you, and walked right through. So otherwise, if I'd been there 2 minutes before or 2 minutes later, it wouldn't have happened. But there I was in the right place at the right time. And in the book also, we have a whole chapter called The Art of Being in the Right Place at the Right Time, because that's what a lot of conscious luck is. In a way, it's getting out of your own way so that you just take advantage of the organic luck that's already yours.
Yeah. And I think even for me, another term would be that maybe I've used, it's similar, not necessarily exactly the same, because your entry point, what I loved about The Big Leap is the structure of it, the simplicity of it, the overlay that you can do with a whole bunch of different belief systems, but you offer a very simplistic structure that will work for all of them, no matter what that belief system is. And today on the beach, as Doug and I were walking, I was sort of in a heavier place with what's going on and wasn't really in the mood to strategize or to deal with business, but we're on the beach and we're on the sand and we're, exercising and the momentum's starting. And all of a sudden we just start talking about things and all of these ideas that I've had swirling in my mind for months, maybe even years, that I'm like, I don't know if this is I don't know what to do here. I don't know what to do there. And again, I wasn't stressed about it, but we were just on the beach and all of a sudden, and we did read this chapter before we left. And I did do the exercise, the release your personal barriers to good fortune. We did the exercise, which is so simple and so easy. I want to talk about curses. So simple and easy. And then we went on the beach and we did this, and all of a sudden, like, this wave of clarity happened and excitement. And I just knew it was the right time. And I know for your book, you wrote part of this book years and years and years ago, and it sat on a shelf for a long time. It wasn't even the right time. You want to tell that story?
Sure. Well, I'll even go back further than that. I also talk about in the book, this thing that happened to me when I was 14 years old was the first time this idea of changing your own luck came into my mind. So in a way, I've been working on this book for 60 years. It just now comes out. But in 1959, I was 14 years old, and I went to the movies, and there was a kid next to me that I knew a little bit named Danny. And so I was sitting there, and before the movie, they were going to put all our names into a goldfish bowl. There was about maybe 250 people there. And so they were going to put all our names into a goldfish bowl with our ticket on it, and then have a drawing at the intermission and give away 3 prizes. So before they had the drawing, Danny leans over to me and says, watch this. I bet I'm going to win. And I said, Okay. And they had the drawing. There were 3 prizes. And sure enough, Danny won the top prize, which was a wristwatch, which is a pretty
Wow.
cool thing
Yeah.
in 1959, you know? And so when he got back from collecting the watch, I said, how did you do that? How did you know? And he said, well, I made myself lucky, was basically what he said. He said that he noticed that some members of his extended family didn't have good things to them happen, and they thought of themselves as unlucky. And then these others that thought of themselves lucky and good things happened to them. And so he said, I'm going to be one of the lucky ones. That was the phrase he uses. I chose to be one of the lucky ones. I thought, wow, that's interesting, because I always thought luck was something you were born with, or got from God or someplace, So suddenly the idea of making up your own luck really stuck in my mind. And then I tell also the story in the book of how I had this kind of magical thing happen right after I made that decision to be a lucky person, where I found a coin collection on the street worth thousands and thousands of dollars and returned it to its owner, and who favored me then by sending me a complete collection of buffalo nickels, which was probably more money than I'd ever had in my hand at any time. In those days, it was probably worth $35 or so. Now it would be worth $400 or $500 probably. But anyway, for me as an avid coin collector, I was really excited about this. So I got a real lesson early on in how we can change our life by changing our mind.
And then with this book, how long after The Big Leap? I mean, did you start this after The Big Leap and then put it away, or was it before and then you put it away?
Yeah, I kind of, after I published The Big Leap and that came out, I realized, okay, well, this is the next step to actually get underneath all of your programming and actually change your attractor factor, your attraction to good things, and to develop an attractor for love and an attractor for abundance and an attractor for creativity that's an open space instead of having any of your programming on top of it. And so I began to turn that over in my mind. And then I realized what I'm talking about is really conscious luck. And so our book, Conscious Loving, has been widely used as a relationship manual for the
I have it.
past 30 years. Good. God bless you. And thanks to Oprah, my neighbor over the hill here, who first put us on her show back in 1991 or so, and has made Conscious Loving a bestseller ever since. And so somewhere on the earth every day, and a rerun of Oprah is playing. And so I can see a little blip of Conscious Loving books spreading around the world every week. So I decided to call it Conscious Luck because it's something you can do in your mind, and then things shift in the outer aspect of your life. Maybe you've heard of the father of American psychology, William James. He was a Harvard person in the 19th century and one of the most widely known people in the world at that time. And he was a philosopher and a psychologist. And he said the greatest discovery of his time, which was the 19th century, where locomotives were discovered and telephones and automobiles, he said the greatest discovery of our time is that we can change the outer aspects of our life by changing our minds. So you change your mind first, and then your outer life begins to shift. And a lot of people are doing it the other way around. They're waiting for something out here to change before they change their mind. And so they go around in a state of continuous limitation. And so I'm trying to help people unwind all that in The Big Leap and in Conscious Luck, so that you become an open space, not filtered through your old programming, because your old programming may have put some kind of curse on you that you don't deserve love, or you don't deserve luck, or maybe that making money is hard work. That's a belief that many people have. Whereas I found in my life, the less hard I work, the less stress I put into it, the easier I make it, the better it is. And so every word of Conscious Luck was written by a person in a really good mood. I did not suffer one moment. In fact, if I had started to suffer while I was writing a book or anything else, I'd put my pen down and go sit down and breathe and meditate until I was in a fit mood again to broadcast my message out into the world. So I'm a big believer that we ought to practice what we preach, practice what we teach. And so for me, it's very empowering to choose to make yourself a luckier person. There's certainly always going to be a random factor to life. You never know when the cloud's going to come over and the rain's going to pop out or the sun's going to come out or whatever. There's a certain element of life that is magical and mystical and needs to be random. That's part of life too. But I think a good bit more of life than we think can be opened up to by our conscious intention.
Absolutely. And as we were going through the book today, in terms of the 8 secrets to intentionally change your fortune, my partner is a very positive, successful person. And when we check off some of these boxes, some of the work that I do and that he's done, we feel like, yep, we're in alignment with all of, like, where would we start with something we can improve upon? And I think the release your personal barriers to good fortune was where we started, because I wanted to see what you had to say about that. And you talked about the curses. Why don't we just quickly talk about the curse? Because then your solution and your exercise was so easy. It was so easy and it's so good.
Yes. Well, you'll have to go through the exercise in the book and devote a few minutes to it, but I can give you a kind of a miniature version of what I'm talking about here. And that is that the reason I call it curses is because I had actually had a friend or a client who had this illness in his body. And he actually traced it back to a time when he was traveling in a foreign country, and he got into a conflict with some people about some money or something like that. And this elderly lady, kind of like the matriarch of the family, came out and did this powerful thing to him in a foreign language that he didn't understand. But basically, it was a curse. And he kept having this pain in his stomach and that kind of thing until years later, when he was assisted in saying, "Oh, that was then, this is now." And we worked on that one little thing until the stomach thing cleared up. Because here's the thing. Many people are born into a curse. 60% of us are unwanted, up to 60% in some studies. And so are unplanned. And so we're an inconvenience maybe. So there's negative energy to us, beamed at us from the very beginning in some cases. I happen to be one of those cases because I was conceived in such a way that it was absolutely the most inconvenient time for my mother to have a baby. And so, much later we discussed this and everything, but her life was under tremendous pressure at the time. And that was sort of the last thing she wanted. And so if you get born into an attitude about you, if you think about it, that doesn't have anything to do with you personally. Any other kid in that situation, they'd have the same feelings about. And so in a sense, we don't need to take it personally, and we need to take it incredibly personally, because you need to own it first. You need to say, okay, I'm limiting my life by an inner feeling of being unwanted or unloved or unworthy of love. And so that kind of curse that we either have put on us from outside, or sometimes we put it on ourselves, then that becomes the life we live within that context. And so the book shows you a simple way of actually getting the physical experience of releasing what's in the past. And so I really recommend that everybody that's worked through all the exercises in the book tells me that all of them can be done in under an hour, even if you did them all, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So I think it'd be the best hour of investment in anybody's life to sit down in a quiet space and just work through those one at a time, because they will really help you breathe a breath of fresh air. You kind of, the way Katie and I put it, especially after midlife, after age 40, every breath you take is either a breath of creativity or a breath of stagnation. You're either saying, wow, I can't wait to get out of bed in the morning because I'm so fired up about what I'm doing in my life. Or you're saying, okay, I got to get out of bed today. And for me, there's no choice to it. I managed to, many years ago, now, decades ago now, I made a decision to start spending more of my life on the genius spiral. And at the first, when I realized this, I was only spending like 10% of my working life doing the things I most love to do. And that was a kind of a, oh my gosh, moment for me. I realized that, but I just started incrementally building it up, started making choices that, a little bit more here, a little bit more. Pretty soon I'm doing 30% of my time on the genius spiral, doing what I most love to do. Then I set 50%. Then I set 70% as my new goal. So it took me about 10 years, but gosh, for the last 2 decades at least, I have spent 90% of my daily life doing the things I most love to do, and the other 10% eating or getting around from place to place or handling my 2 cats or whatever.
Golfing.
Plenty of golfing and playing with my 2 British short-haired cats. We don't have kids at home anymore, but we have these 2 wonderful little girl cats that we've had for 7 years now that we're just crazy about. And so we're always having little adventures with them.
I know I like all of your posts about your cats on Facebook or on Instagram. And Katie and I, when we talked, I said, when we move up there, which is soon, you're gonna have to tell me who your cat sitters are because that's a really important part for me.
We have the very best cat sitter. We've had the same cat sitter now for almost 20 years. And she's a total, in fact, she just moves into the house when we leave. And it's always totally seamless. We come back, everything is pristine, the bed's made up, everything is spotless. So she comes and goes without any kind of hassle at all. She's the dream. Alessandra is her name. I'll introduce you to her. She's a genius cat sitter.
Yeah, I feel the same way about mine. I have 3 girls. So conscious luck, we didn't finish the story. I want people to hear the timing of this because I think the timing of that you wrote it after the big leap, but you didn't finish it. You put it down. So
okay, yeah. So I wrote the first 4 chapters of it. You'll see that the book, the way it's laid out, is the first 4 chapters have basically all the kind of foundational shifts that you need to make in here, and then the last 4 chapters are about how to put it into action and exercises and things like that. And so I happen to live in the same town as a genius writer of such things, Carol Klein. And Carol and I had worked on a book with Jack Canfield probably 15 years ago, a book called You've Got to Read This Book. It was kind of like a chicken soup book, but subject was 55 people talking about a book that changed their lives. And it was a really good book. So Carol and I and Jack had worked together on that and had a lot of fun working on it. And so I bumped into Carol frequently at the farmer's market when we'd be down there on Sundays. And so she would always say, "What are you doing with Conscious Luck?" And because she wanted to read it. And I'd say, "Oh, I'm writing a mystery novel right now. I haven't got back to it. I want to finish it." So anyway, to make a long story short, one day she said, "Hey, I'd love to look at it and maybe finish it." And so Carol is very involved. Well, she was involved with all of it, but she's really involved with those last 4 chapters because they're really the action chapters. And she's so good at writing instructions and processes and things like that. So I think you'll really love the combination.
Well, how long though did it sit? So you wrote it and then you stopped. So how long was this pause until Carol?
Yeah, I probably let it sit for about 3 or 4 years.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah, and I have this file on my computer, by the way. I recommend every creative person do something like this. My file is called Books and Creative Projects I'm Probably Not Going to Get Around to.
Mine would be huge.
Well, mine is huge. Like I think I've got 14 different books or something like that in various stages of completion. So, it may be one of these things after I pass on to that great library in the sky, somebody will come along and finish those other books for me.
That's a great thought. Maybe you can start lining up who would do that for you and who you would like to have be the voice of that.
I'm pretty sure I'd have a good sized line.
Yes, you would. I had Dr. Christian Northrup on last week, and she's coming on again next week.
She's a dear friend of mine, by the way.
Yeah, and I said to her, and I was like, "I'm on the team." I'm like, I'm you without the medical degree in it. Like on the evolution scale, like literally, there's no other person that I have as much in common with in terms of our belief systems. Every single thing that comes out of her mouth, I'm in alignment with on a parallel track. Until now, we're on anyway. So I'm like, it was 10 years I've been after her, and when I got her on, I was like 10 years. So I'm sure there are people in alignment with you that you'd be like, "Oh, I'd like you to, I want to pass the torch to you." So I wanted people to hear that there was, that, had the idea, especially those of you that are creatives and business creatives, you had this great idea, you have a momentum, and then you honor that it wasn't the right time and you put it down and you wait until, again, luck works out the being in the right place at the right time with the right person to seamlessly, joyfully, with ease, let the rest of it unfold. So I want to just quickly read over if you don't mind, the eight secrets.
Yeah.
So commit to be a VLP, a very lucky person. Release your personal barriers to good fortune, which was a great chapter and a very simple exercise that I find very powerful. 3, transform shame into a magnet for abundance, which of course, if someone has a lot of shame, think about all the abundance you can have if you just transform that.
That was my experience. Yeah.
Have luck-worthy goals, take bold action consistently, find your lucky tribe, learn to be at the right place at the right time, and practice radical gratitude and appreciation. Any other things you want to mention about any one of those chapters or an exercise or just a point that you think is new and different that hasn't been really spoken to before?
Well, I want to say a word about the last chapter, radical gratitude, because gratitude is the launching place for a lot of your genius and a lot of your the new things that need to come into your life that change your life. Gratitude, see, I think why gratitude is such a perfect tool in a way to use for transformation is because the moment you experience gratitude for whatever it is, you're free from the past. You're free from anything that's happened before. You're in this moment of feeling grateful for whatever is happening, or just for life itself. Just to take one thing to feel grateful for right now, JJ, there are between 8 and 9 million different species on this planet, things like us, but that come in a different form. Some of them have 6 legs, some of them have 4 legs, like 2 legs and 2 arms. Some of them have, they're different wings and that kind of thing, but all of them are different species. What an amazing piece of luck to show up in the one that can have a conversation about conscious luck. So if you can't think of anything else to feel grateful for, just take a moment and feel grateful for that. And then go on and create the rest of your life. Here's the mantra I like to teach people is, I'm willing to be luckier today than I've ever been before in my life. And I'm willing.
Yeah, keep going. Oh, I didn't realize. I thought that was the end of it. I was going to repeat it.
I'm willing to be luckier today than I've ever been in my life.
To be luckier today than I ever have been in my life.
And I'm willing to be luckier tomorrow than I was today.
And I'm willing to be luckier tomorrow than I was today.
See, every kind of important change begins with a moment of willingness. Just to be willing to, that opens your heart. Just the window opens a little bit for you then to invent something new.
I love that about your work. It's the heart-centered, heart-opening, deservedness increasing, the willingness to receive, working on receiving, right? And that comes in no matter what it is in life, it's applicable. Love, business, money, friendship.
Absolutely. And it's so important because there's so much that's put out in life on putting things out, getting things out into the world, expressing your genius. But it's important also to receive to that exact equivalent extent, because what makes a healthy, balanced person is a full in breath and a full out breath.
Absolutely. You had talked about before we started recording today that there were some bonuses if people went to consciousluck.com.
Yes. If you buy the book through consciousluck.com, you can buy it through Amazon and all of those things through consciousluck.com. But if you enter your receipt there at consciousluck.com, you can get 2 guided meditations, one recorded by me for the morning and one recorded by Carol, my colleague, for the afternoon or evening. And they're 2 3-minute meditations that kind of summarize everything that you really need to lock in on a daily basis. So I highly recommend that you download and use those 2 3-minute meditations every day. And the second thing is that you can get a ticket to this, the recording of this super session that we're doing. So you can find out all about that there. And also you can download a self-assessment, kind of a checklist to find out where you need to work on your luck.
Excellent. All right. So I'm going to go to consciousluck.com. If you're listening to the podcast and you're not seeing the banner I've created, consciousluck.com, pretty easy. Can they also find it through hendricks.com if for some reason somebody doesn't know how to spell conscious? I'm just saying.
Just go to hendricks.com. Of course, if you can't spell conscious, you may not be able to spell Hendricks either, but the way we spell it is Hendricks.
Well, I just want to give people options. Sometimes the C and the S may confuse them if there's an I, Anyway, consciousluck.com or hendricks.com, because you want to get your copy of Conscious Luck, 8 Secrets to Intentionally Change Your Fortune. And I'm going to just add in the fortune of all aspects of life, in case for those of you that have plenty of money, but your relationships need some work or your health needs some work. There has to be a degree of respect and self-love that needs to be increased. Like why someone sabotages themselves, let's say on a healthcare regime, or why you don't take better care of yourself also has to do with your deservedness to spend the time and attention on yourself. So when you're increasing your ability to receive in the area of money or in the area of relationships, you can also receive more in the area of self-love to do what you need to do to take care of yourself. So I just want to make sure one's clear, even though this may say fortune. If you've got plenty of money, then maybe you need to work on relationships and your health. But all of it will be amplified when you allow yourself to expand to that next level of believing and knowing and living like you are a very lucky person. Any last final words, Gay?
Well, I want everybody in the world to feel like the luckiest person in the world. I feel like I'm the luckiest person in the world, but I want everybody to feel that way.
I agree. It's a great feeling. I feel it and I live it and I know it, and there's always room to grow. And so it's never an end point, but it's a great feeling to be there, and there's a peace to it, and there's an amazingness to it, and there's an allowing that when you continue to move that needle, life gets better and better and better. And even when something bad happens, you recover faster. The resilience is easier. The point of view and clarity about why it had to happen is easier on you. You don't take things as hard. And so life just gets better and better. And if you can get some tools, I had someone email me yesterday or text me and say, thank you for all the tools you've given. They're really helping right now. And so here's another tool, guys, Conscious Luck. It's actually a lot like the idea of it's simple. The exercises are simple, but they're powerful. So everyone go to consciousluck.com, get your bonuses, get your copy of the book, and let's have a conversation in the inner circle. So be sure to check your show notes for a link for that. And also make sure to check out hendricks.com for any live events and anything else that Gay and Katie are doing, and would invite you to. And again, I say thank you, Gay, for coming on the show again.
Thanks a lot, JJ. Good being with you.